happy Tuesday morning, June 16, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Tuesday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Tuesday morning, so let's begin. First up, we're going to start with your COVID-19 in New Hampshire, what you need to know information. Let's take a look at that right now for all of you. And here's a look at that information for all of you. As you can see, there are 5,345 number of people in New Hampshire who have tested positive for COVID-19. 2,107,632 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 320 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 519 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 115,998 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. And now let's take a look at this current map of New Hampshire, where current cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 224. And let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire, where total cases of COVID-19 are. Manchester, 1410. And now let's take a look at these three charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple. Daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations, and in the red are the deaths. And let's take a look at this chart here, current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases, and in the orange, current hospitalizations. And now let's take a look at this chart here, total cases. In the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, total hospitalizations. In the red, deaths. And in the blue, recovered. And now let's take a look at this chart here. Age group of cases. Female and male of cases. And risk information. And now let's take a look at this chart here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And now let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And again, your common symptoms are fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Health officials see positive trends in New Hampshire COVID-19 numbers. 27 new cases of coronavirus confirmed in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Charisse Leclerc.
Some work can't stop because our communities need you, which is why we're working to keep you working. to help you keep home.
COVID-19 is still out there. It is still spreading person to person.
COVID-19 continues to be a part of our daily lives, and that isn't changing anytime soon. But New Hampshire's latest numbers are at least showing positive signs.
We expect to see the numbers go up and go down, but the overall trend is a good trend.
Sunday, June 14th, saw the fewest new daily cases since March 26th, 21 people testing positive for the virus, and hospitalizations are also down. 62 people remain hospitalized. That's the fewest since the Department of Health and Human Services started reporting those numbers on April 13th.
This decrease in the numbers is a direct reflection of the steps we have taken as a community and as individuals to prevent spread of COVID-19 within our communities.
As the state begins to reopen sectors of the economy, Dr. Chan says it's as important now as it ever was to maintain social distancing and wear face coverings. And they continue to monitor the numbers closely, especially as more sectors of the economy reopen. This is a look at the daily number of new cases since restaurants reopened with outdoor dining on May 18th. Chan says it's likely we will continue to see fluctuations.
I think it's very likely we will at some point see the numbers start to go back up. And the goal is to try and have the protections and the guidance and the recommendations and the systems in place to try and control that.
Dr. Chan says we need to continue to live with the virus, and that means maintaining that social distance and using face coverings when out in public, as there likely won't be a vaccine for this for months. Reporting remotely, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dow features jump aimed report that Trump is preparing $1 trillion infrastructure proposal. Features contracts tied to the major U.S. stock indexes rose sharply on Tuesday following a Bloomberg report that said President Donald Trump's administration is preparing a $1 trillion infrastructure proposal. Supreme Court protects LGBTQ civil rights. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
That landmark decision from the Supreme Court protecting LGBTQ employees from discrimination in the workplace. The Trump administration had argued against it. ABC's Terry Moran at the court again for us.
The stunning victory for LGBTQ Americans means that employers can no longer discriminate against workers simply because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Until today, that was legal in more than half the states. Justice Neil Gorsuch, a Trump appointee who was joined by Chief Justice John Roberts and the court's 4 liberals in ruling that federal civil rights law must now be extended to LGBTQ workers, declared, an employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the law. President Trump's reaction, subdued.
We live with the decision of the Supreme Court. Very powerful decision, actually. But they have so ruled.
His likely opponent, Joe Biden, calling it a momentous step forward for our country. In a 100-page dissent, Justice Samuel Alito warned of dire consequences from today's ruling, from bathrooms at workplaces to pronouns. The position that the court now adopts will threaten freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and personal privacy and safety, he wrote. But for Gerald Bostock, a plaintiff in the case who was fired from his job as a counselor in Clayton County, Georgia, after he joined a gay softball team, this was about something else: basic human dignity.
I'm overwhelmed with joy, and my heart is filled with gratitude.
A landmark decision, and we're expecting several other major rulings here in the next few weeks. The question of whether President Trump has the legal authority to end President Obama's program for hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants, the Dreamers, they're called, protecting them from deportation. There's a huge abortion case out of Louisiana, and that case on President Trump's tax return. So, David, we're going to be very busy here in the next few weeks.
All right, Terry Moran at the court. We'll see you there again in the coming weeks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another broadcast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.